So welcome back to Movement Professional. So today I want to talk about some important concepts when it comes to versatility of training. And when we think about things like strength training, power training, or even speed training, that there's this concept or these principles that we're looking at is, do we want to be heavy through the ground or do we want to make ourselves lighter? So the heaviest that we will be through the ground, or we should be through the ground, is when we're trying to train pure strength. So the heavier the weight is that we're trying to lift, the more weight or more load we have to put through the ground. So it teaches us to be heavier. And this is often why you see there's weight classes in powerlifting, because heavier people can tend to lift more weight because they are already putting more weight through the ground and they have the ability to do that. And lighter people will tend to have a little bit more difficult time doing that. But that is the value of strength training. You can teach someone who's a little bit lighter to put more force through the ground. So ultimately that is our goal, as we're thinking about putting more force through the ground as much as we can when we're doing pure strength training. Then when we start to add speed, whether that's from a single powerful rep or if we're putting multiple reps together and just adding speed, or even endurance, we have to find a way to make ourselves a little bit lighter at the right moment. And then we might have to find heaviness again if we want to control our landings or stop the flow of momentum. So I'm going to give an example here of when we look at something. Both of them are hip hinge oriented movements, just like a strict kettlebell deadlift, and then we're going to tie that into things like kettlebell swing or a kettlebell snatch, which has a more vertical orientation, and just how we have to think about heaviness through our feet and how we can think about that as manipulating tempo as well. So if I do generally a heavy kettlebell deadlift, the whole idea here is, doesn't matter how long it takes, I'm going to move that kettlebell from between my feet to my waist, and my focus is how heavy can I push through the ground. So I get my grip first, and I can grip this as tight as I want. I can take as much time as I need here, and then the whole idea is I'm pushing the ground away, pushing through my feet in order to stand up, and then I can bring this down and reset. So my focus here is not how fast I lift the weight, but how heavy can I push through the ground. So the heavier this weight would be, the slower it's going to be for me to lift up. So to not get knocked out of position, instead of thinking about lifting it, I just want to think about push through the ground, push through the ground, push through the ground, push through the ground, and it's usually going to put me in the angle that I want, or put me in the position I want to get to the top. All right, so if I go to a much lighter weight now, and I want to lift this weight up a little bit quicker, now by nature, I'm going to come off of my feet a little bit more. All right, so I could still think about pushing my feet through the ground. It's just not going to be anywhere near as heavy because the weight is lighter. And if I want to bring this up a little bit higher, I might even find myself lifting off the heels a little bit just because I'm getting so light on the ground. So now the pressure, instead of it pushing down through the ground, is moving up to match where the load is going. And if I take this all the way overhead, I could feel now the weight and the pressure has moved all the way overhead. My feet had to get a little bit lighter, and then now that I'm on top and I'm trying to stabilize my position, I'm finding my feet through the ground again. So the cue might still be similar, where I'm still trying to push my feet through the ground, but naturally, because I have to move the bell faster, because the weight's a little bit lighter and the intention is different, I'm going to be a little bit lighter through my feet. So why this is valuable is because we want to have this versatility in our training. Obviously, just by going from that 100-pound bell to about a 30-pound bell, the change of how light that bell feels is going to be pretty drastic. It's sort of like taking the donut off a baseball bat if you've ever practiced warming up before you're taking a baseball bat swing. It just makes the bat lighter. Well, that makes the weight a little bit lighter. Making the weight feel lighter makes me feel lighter, and I'm able to move with more velocity. So just having that idea of training things fast and slow gives you more versatility in how you're able to use your body. But I think that could be a very important concept of when we're looking at strength training, are we actually getting heavier through that? Or do we not need to? That means maybe we need to go a little bit heavier, or we just need to give ourselves a little bit more focus in whatever the surface is that I'm in contact with. I want to feel heavier through that, and that's going to tend to make us feel more muscles, but it's also going to make us a little less efficient. We're going to feel like we are using more muscles, but we're not necessarily going through the rep as quickly or as easily. That's one of the values of strength training. when we start going a little bit faster, and now we want to feel a little bit lighter. If I cycle through a bunch of reps here, I only want to give the ground enough contact just to keep me in place. But I don't want to feel like I'm driving down through the ground hard, because now I can't move fast enough to get that weight overhead. There's no way I can keep that rhythm if I keep the same amount of foot contact through the ground that I had with the heavy deadlift. So just keeping that idea is when you're flowing with something that has a little bit of speed, a little bit of endurance, is think about the body getting lighter, getting lighter. That will tend to dictate your posture and kind of give you the best flow or the best position to optimize performance.